Hiya. So I'm out here on the heath enjoying the lovely spring sunshine, and I'm very, very lucky that I live in a part of the world like this where I'm not trapped inside or trapped in a place I don't like. This is all on my doorstep, so I'm very, very blessed to have this. It's been very, very dry in this part of the world, in Suffolk, England. We haven't had rain for at least a couple of weeks now. It's always pretty dry anyways. I'll show you the ground here. If you can see, it's pretty sandy all the time, as this is heathland. But yeah, it's good for the gorse and the heather and the other plants that are very much suited to this landscape. Been staying inside at my own home, and just going out a couple of times a week out here onto the heath. And of course, should I see anyone, which is very, very rare, practice my social distancing, of course. But yeah, more often I see deer than I see people out here. And yeah, they know all about social distancing, at least from us humans. So, I'm still waiting for my surgery, so that's a bit, yeah, trying to find the right words. I'm learning patience. I'm trying to see the lesson in all of this. And it is sometimes painful, but I'm managing the pain a lot better now. I've been treating myself with lots of herbs that are good for women's reproductive health, and yeah, just getting on with life and with things as best I can. Wearing very comfortable and elasticated clothing. So yeah, today I am filming a video out here on the heath for Beltane, and I thought I'd just do a little vlog at the same time. The gorse here is absolutely gorgeous. You have to see this. Although it is kind of taking over the path a little bit. I might have to come in here with a machete after I get my surgery one day and just widen the path just a tiny bit, because the gorse is rather prickly, and if you're not wearing jeans, it's a little bit painful. But look at this. Oh, hello. He's not happy in there. We've intruded on his day. But yeah, it really is just glorious. It's like the sunshine in the sky is just reflected here on the heath in the yellow of the gorse. Just wonderful. Hello, gorgeous. You're so beautiful, aren't you? Yes, you are. No. Gonna go join your mates. Go on. See ya. If we're lucky today, we might even see an adder out on the heath enjoying the sunshine. So there's deer just in the trees over there. Normally you can't hear them when they're running around and moving, but the ground is so dry here, and because it's full of pine trees, the ground sounds quite hollow, so you can hear the deer actually from quite far away, which is very unusual. But they're just there in the trees. And yeah, it was a small herd actually that we just saw, so maybe they're starting to break up into their smaller summer herds as opposed to their giant winter herds, which are like over 100, as you might have seen in previous videos. I think this weekend my husband and I are going to come out here and look for some of the deer antlers. The stags drop their antlers in April and in May. These are the fallow deer here on the heath, and so hopefully we will find one or two, which would be great. I have one on my altar at home, but that's one I got from the New Forest, which is quite far away from here. I would love to find an antler or two from the deer that live here with me on the heath. I just think that would be amazing. As you can see, the birch trees are really starting to come into their own out in leaf, and the oak trees behind are not too far away. So it's oak out before ash this year, so as the saying goes, oak before ash, we're in for a splash. Ash before oak, we're in for a soak. So looks like it should be another dry summer. What we don't need is, we really don't need another dry spring, because the spring has been ridiculously dry already. And what with the quarantine and everything, we really need to grow as much food as possible, as every country does, because everything's messed up with shipping and that. So we are going to hope and pray, and maybe even do a rain dance if we don't get any rain in the next week, because we are seriously going to suffer with our food prices and everything else if we don't get some rain soon. At least here in this part of the world, we grow some wheat and barley, but because the soil here is so dry, mostly what we grow here is root vegetables, which are pretty inexpensive anyways. But yeah, you just want to have the best crop possible in the best year possible, especially after last year, because last year was so dry as well. We really don't need 2 droughts in a row in this part of the world. So at the moment I'm still making my videos, of course. I'm still doing my podcasts and doing lots of photography, even if it's garden lockdown photography, as some of you may have seen on my Instagram page, taking pictures of all the little visitors to my garden, and there are quite a few. There's the deer and the pheasant, pigeons, birds, blackbirds, robins, sparrows, all sorts. It's amazing what just sitting still for 20 minutes in your backyard, what you'll see if you're lucky enough to have a back garden. So yeah, doing lots of photography, and I'm working on my new book. So I started that last year, about 30,000 words or so into it, and then I realized I need a major rewrite, because I want this book to be much more poetic than some of my previous work. So Hedge Druidry has got poetry in it, of course, you know, in some of the descriptions and some of the anecdotes at the end of each chapter, but I want this one to be quite different. So this is a book that is on hedge witchcraft. So it's going to contain a lot of information that I've gained over the last 25, 30 years in my witchcraft practice, which I practice alongside my druidry, as some of you may know from my book Hedge Druid's Craft, where I kind of melded the two there. So yeah, doing lots of work for that, and then suddenly deciding I need a major rewrite. So who knows, I may even start over from the beginning. But there's no deadline. I don't have a publisher for it yet. I haven't submitted anything yet, so I'm not under any deadline pressures, which is good. And yeah, just looking forward to starting that rewrite and to share a bit more of my witchcraft practice. Because all of you know me as Jo the Druid. So it's nice to share another dimension of myself. Some of you may have seen that already on my Witchy Ways video series on YouTube, where I share some of my knowledge and experience that I've gained in my witchcraft practice. And yeah, it's nice to share that, because I've been a witch for much longer than I've been a druid. You know, I've studied and followed a druid path for about 15 years, but for about twice that, I've been a witch, a solitary witch. I've gone to a few group meetings and rituals and public ceremonies, but like my druidry, my witchcraft is very much a solitary practice. So, oh, sorry, there's something in the undergrowth here. It's probably a little lizard. Sounds like a lizard, but I can't see him. So yeah, it's nice to share some of my witchcraft practice. And I hope that you all are enjoying it. Oh, it's absolutely glorious out here today. I'm just wearing a very light jacket, mostly to stop myself from getting a sunburn. But yeah, this is my back garden, pretty much. I think for me, witchcraft is very much a solitary practice just because I'm easily overwhelmed by other people with emotions and sound. Very empathic, so it suits me to have a much quieter and solitary practice. And I find it also very liberating as well, not just because I'm a solitary witch, but just witchcraft in general. I find it very, very liberating. It's really much like Druidry. It's learning to find your place in the environment and taking responsibility for your actions, and learning how to be in the world as a functioning member of an ecosystem. For me, witchcraft and Druidry are kind of brother and sister. And some people might say, well, why do you practice both, if they're so similar? But I don't know, they have a very different flavor and a different feel. I can't 100% describe it, but I think there's a bit more freedom, perhaps, in witchcraft than in Druidry, because Druidry is a tradition that was very much developed in a specific culture, whereas witchcraft has its own traditions, of course, that are based in specific cultures, but generally, especially in modern witchcraft, it is open to influences from all over the world. And yes, of course, there are Druid traditions, much like my own, that would, say there's no monopoly on wisdom. Learn what you can from anyone and everyone, and if it works, incorporate it. But I think that flows so much easier within the tradition of witchcraft. If witchcraft had a motto, I think it would be, if it works, use it. And so, it's very freeing. Sometimes the structure, the history, the archaeology, the anthropology, the language of Druidry and the Celts from whatever part of Europe is wonderfully inspiring, and it's so evocative of a time and a place especially. But witchcraft is all times and all places. I suppose Druidry, of course Druidry is as well. If you don't take your Druidry into the modern world and develop it, then it's a dead religion. But there's just something about witchcraft that is different from Druidry. Maybe it's less in the head, in a sense. Maybe it's more mud and blood than what most people consider Druidry to be, even though I know there's lots of mud and blood druids out there. Lots of friends of mine. But so I'm just taking the time now to explore and share my witchy side publicly, which is a bit of a big leap of faith, but why not? That oak tree is in good leaf already. This willow here is great. I think it all came from one big willow tree that fell over on its side, and now we've got a whole copse of willow growing out from the original mother tree. This is one of my favorite places on the heath. It's there's another willow that fell over and is just growing a whole bunch of new ones. But this is a very special place here on the heath. You can see that deer are here quite regularly with all the fur on the ground. And you can see their tracks in the land. And I'm pretty sure this is also where they come to give birth. In May, I've seen a lot of mums with newborns just hanging out on this green sward, and underneath those birch trees there in the distance in the shade. And it's a very quiet and a very peaceful place. And I've never come across a single person here when I've been here. Of course, watch today will be the day. But yeah, this is a very special place to me. And this is where my husband and I did our wedding vow renewals a couple of years ago as well. So, very special. So that's just a little update on me and the work that I'm doing. And yeah, now it's time to go and film a Beltane video with the bees and the pheasants and the birds. So I hope that wherever you are, that you're staying safe, and we'll see you next time. Take care.